this idea of renting, it's a slave mentality. That's what people don't understand. You're pretty much a slave to your landlord, the finance company, the credit card company. And a good number of people are slaves to their employers. It's a poor man's mindset. And if you start thinking of it like that and you want to get out of this idea and you start saying, I don't want to be a slave anymore. I don't want to be at the mercy of my landlord. I don't want to be at the mercy of the finance company. They're going to take my car if I don't pay my car note. I don't want to continue to live my life like that. Get out of the slave mentality.
Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of.
All right. Money is on my mind indeed. Yes, everybody. I am your gracious host, Darrin Harvey, and this is Financial State of Minds, and this is a show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as fast as possible as we discuss financial literacy, business literacy, and anything and everything to do with the almighty power of the dollar. And, of course, today we are joined by unofficial co-host of the show, Maurice Shabazz is back in the building. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, Darrin, man. Love the topic you came up with.
Yeah, so as a reminder, we are streaming live on KGPC 96.9. You can find that stream on kgpc969.org. And this is going to be available, of course, on all your favorite platforms of choice. And now we just got the thumbs up that we will be on TV. So that's going to be fun, and we'll talk about that more later on. But today's topic. So what are we talking about today? Today, we are talking about a topic that was inspired by a Business Insider video that was just released a couple of days ago. That's where I got the topic. And that topic is, why is not owning anything so expensive? So it was a very, very interesting video. Go watch that video. It was on YouTube from Business Insider. But I really wanted to talk about it. Why are things so expensive when you don't even own it? So let's give some quick examples so people have a clearer idea of what exactly I'm talking about. So the most obvious one, of course, is, well, your housing. So renting is more expensive than owning the overall long period of time. Same thing with cars. When you rent a car, when you lease a car, that's going to be more expensive than buying it. But that's housing and cars and stuff like that. But now we're at a point in 2026 where it's literally everything. Everything could be rented out, essentially. That's software, that's digital products, that's hardware products. I mean, you can rent out a printer, for Christ's sake. You can rent out the ink of the printer. Everything at this point in this age has an option to where you can essentially not own it. You're leasing it, you're renting it, however you want to phrase it. And even on the stuff that is a buy-only option, you can use options like buy now, pay me later options like Affirm and pay me later or whatever like that. PayPal has a version of it too, where, yeah, you were supposed to buy it outright, but because you chose not to for whatever reason, probably because you couldn't afford to, now you split it up into 4 different payments. So it was really interesting. But Shabazz, I know you've been in this game longer than me, and you're older than me. So I'm sure you have seen the shift over the last, let's just say 20 years, especially, of things slowly going from you can only buy it and you own it outright and you control it outright to, in some cases, it's the opposite. You can only rent it. You can only lease it out. So talk to me about that. How do you feel about that?
That's a good question, man. It's actually really a loaded question because in those scenarios that you just mentioned, yes, renting versus owning, yeah, you're losing out on a lot versus rent, especially like renting a house or renting an apartment. You're paying somebody else's mortgage and you're earning zero equity at the same time. And you imagine like if you're staying in a house or you rent an apartment over the last 10, 20 years, and then if you add up everything that you have paid in rent for that series of time frame, and you add all that up and you think about it, like a good percentage of that or a majority of that could have been in equity, right? And we're not even talking about factoring in the idea of the value that it probably has, property has went up over the last 10, 20 years, right? So you have missed out on a lot. You missed out time, which you definitely can't get back, right? The money you paid, you can't get that back either. And the thing is that it's costing you a lot. I talk about this all the time, man. And I remember when I first started doing credit repair years and years ago. My rebuttal was always like when people would be like, why do you charge so much for credit repair? That's when I actually had a team that was doing it. And basically we would charge depending on how bad or good your credit was, basically, or what condition it was. That's how we would charge. It was like looking up under the hood of the car, like, oh, you need a lot of work, so it's going to cost this. And people would ask, why do you charge so much? Why do people charge so much for credit repair? And my rebuttal always was, by you having bad credit, what it's costing you, I could never charge you enough. And that's the thing. So when you look at it, when it comes to finance, when it comes to money, when it comes to investing, if your money is not working for you, you're losing. It's just that simple. It's really no other way to say it. If your dollar is not working in any capacity, you're losing.
Absolutely. And to further that point, we'll keep the focus right now on owning assets. So let's keep it on assets right now. So we'll even throw in car, even though that's a depreciating asset, still an asset. Cars, homes, obviously stocks, gold, silver, whatever, assets, art. Over the long term, let's focus on the house right now still. Okay. Over the long term, let's say even right now, in this time that we're recording right now, February 5th, 2026. I know there's been some rate fluctuation because of good old Trump and Greenland. Mm-hmm. But right now, though, I believe as about 2-3 days ago, the rates went back up to the sixes.
Right.
So I'm making some numbers up right now in my head. This is not accurate, listeners, right now. But let's just say you live in California. The average house in California is a little over $800,000. So you get an $800,000 house at 6%. Let's just say your payment is $4,000 a month. Just conversation's sake, $4,000 a month. That's pretty expensive, of course, right? And then that's before utilities, that's before property taxes, whatnot. But the key is, compared to renting, owning, that payment will stop at some point. If you pay on time, that payment will stop. Whether you decide to get a 15-year loan, the common 30-year loan, there's rumors of 40-year loans coming out. Yeah. It's going to stop. That's the beauty of owning. Whatever you pay on will stop. Whether it's a one-time payment, whether it's a 40-year payment, it will stop. When you rent, it technically never stops. Or if it stops, the cost of it stopping is, well, you lose access to whatever you're renting. So that includes housing. So technically, you can be in that same California house, same square footage, everything, and you rent it, and I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you're renting it for $3,000 enough. Mm-hmm. Well, who cares if you're saving $1,000 a month, that month per month, if you're going to be paying on it every single month until the day you die? So you'll always save money on the long run when you own something outright compared to when you rent it out. That's just the basic concept up front. And you can apply it to anything, anything, whether it's a valuable asset that appreciates over time or whether it's an asset that depreciates over time. I'm just talking about strictly the cost of having access to it. We're not even talking about the obvious of equity, which is what you just said. What you just talked about is the equity behind it. I'm just talking about just simply you're paying more to rent. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is what this video explained, and I've noticed it in my lifetime. I'm kind of the last generation, or one of the last generations, where in the 90s and the early 2000s, most of the things you purchased that are entertainment related, or most of the things, period, you can buy it outright. So in 1990 or in the year 2000, you can own a physical copy of a movie. You went to where? You went to Best Buy. You went to Circuit City, rest in peace. You went to a Toys R Us, which I would say rest in peace, but apparently it's coming back. But you would go to anywhere. You go to Walmart, you go to Target, you go to all these places. And if you wanted the new Nutty Professor, you go out and you just go get a copy. Whether it was a VHS tape, whether it was DVD, whether it was Blu-ray, it wasn't hard to find a physical copy. But nowadays, what is it? Shabazz, where would you get a physical copy of a movie right now? Where would you go that's a brick and mortar?
I see that Walmart still has some. They don't have a huge variety of them, but they got some. They still got some Blu-ray DVDs I saw up in there. You have to go to places like that, or you probably have to go to somewhere like Amazon and find somebody who's basically selling on there. But yeah, it's still places you can get them, but it's not as it was once before, you know.
Exactly. So my point is, and again, focusing on brick and mortar, the answer really is it's a specialty store. It's a mom and pop now. There is no big chain store that sells physical movies anymore. They're all gone. All of them. They're all mom and pops. Or if there is a chain, it's a regional chain. It's not nationwide. But there's not one chain that I can think of where you can buy the whole store. You can buy a physical media, whether it's music, because Rasputin's, Tower Records, all of them are gone or on their last legs. You know, Blockbuster's been gone. Best Buy and Walmart and Target are actively phasing out all movies sales and music. What's crazy is books. Physical books sell better at this point in 2026 than physical movies and physical music. The only exception to that is vinyl. Vinyl sells more than physical movies and CDs. Vinyls. That's where we're at right now. And it's kind of crazy to say that. Vinyls sell more.
There's a reason for that, though.
Yeah, there is a reason for that. Vinyls and books, they've been able to do something, be able to capture something that CDs and movies are no longer able to capture. Right. But one of my points is that it's actually getting harder to buy physical products, period. Especially if we focus on entertainment. Entertainment, it's all over the place. And there's actually an interesting history. Again, listen to the video that I'm pulling from or referencing, but it actually started before I was alive. It actually started with cable in the 70s. So around that time, before I was even thought of, there was only a few channels on TV. And that was it. They were all free. Government at some point said, all right, companies, you guys can privatize channels. You guys can privatize the airways. HBO was the first company to do it. And the HBO figured out, hey, people will pay for shows just to be able to watch them. And HBO became HBO, basically. They made a gang of money doing that. But what really solidified the things moving along quickly was, I'm holding it up, a smartphone. In this case, an iPhone. And basically what that did is, hey, the internet is in the palm of your hands now. You can order anything in the palm of your hands. And a lot of these things that you can order, of course, are going to be digital. And what they figured out really quickly, they being companies, is, well, yeah, we can sell you one digital app, or we can sell you one music, song. We can sell you one clip, one movie, whatever. We can sell it to you one time and make money that way. And we can make a gang of money because it's endless copies because it's digital. Or we can sell you the access to it. You'll never own it, and we can make more money that way. And what they found was that that's exactly what happened. And the criminal, the person or the company who proved this model for everybody in the modern era was Adobe. So pre-mid 2000s, if you wanted Photoshop, if you wanted Lightroom, if you wanted Adobe Reader, you could buy a digital key code and you would own that year's version. Remember, you guys, it was always a version. Whether it was Microsoft 2, you would own Microsoft 95, 98, 2000, Microsoft Word or Office 2001, 2002, whatever. You guys get the point. You would own that digital copy. But now if you look around, if my understanding is correct, you actually cannot purchase a digital copy of Microsoft Word 2025. You can't purchase it. You can only essentially get it as a subscription through Microsoft Office. I don't even know if you can get it just the Word. I think you have to get the entire bundle. And the reason why Microsoft does that is because Adobe was the one to do it first. And what the reports show is that Adobe's revenue went up 200%. When they said, you know what, we're not going to sell our software. We're not going to sell Photoshop, Lightroom for $300, $400. You're going to pay us $50 a month to have access to that software. And you'll never own it. And you're just going to keep paying us to use the software. And if you can't pay us, you can't use the software. It's that simple. And that's why everything went that model. At first, I felt it was okay. We'll take Netflix for an example. Next example, Netflix. Netflix, when it first started, everybody loved it. It was streaming. You got access to all your favorite TV shows. It was one platform. Everything was on there, right? And then Netflix really started getting their money when they started producing their own shows that they own. You noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, Shabazz, has there ever been a Netflix show that you can buy a physical copy of?
No.
Exactly. If you guys take the last 10 years, take any streaming service, take Netflix, take Hulu, take Disney. If you notice, there's been a transition to where they're no longer selling their movies at all.
You can only get them here.
You can only stream here. Not only can you only get them here, you can only stream them here.
Right.
Or you can only rent them there.
Right.
I just got done watching a movie on Amazon Prime. You can either you can stream it or rent it. That's it. There wasn't even an option to buy it. Think about that. It's not even an option to buy it because these companies are seeing the returns. They're seeing, oh, if we never sell these people, if we never let these people own it, we'll make more money. And then what I'm noticing in the landscape is that's where everything's transitioning. Everything's transitioning to where your options of owning something outright is becoming less and less options. And what's crazier is, let's move back to cars. I know I'm going all over the place, but let's move back to cars. There's some cars, I believe Teslas are like this, where if you buy the car, thank God I don't drive you guys no more. This is where it's cool to be blind right now. You buy the car and you have to pay a subscription for functionalities of the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 car you just bought. I think that's wild. So I said a lot, Shabazz. How would you like that on?
You know, the funny thing is that, now it's the century of the subscription model.
Right.
Right? Everything is on subscription. So they don't want anybody physically able to just, hey, I got this and I could go over here and I can use it over here, stuff like that. No, you can only come here. And to come here, you have to pay a subscription model. You know, and then if you want these benefits, you have to keep paying that subscription. And it's crazy, man, because so many things have been digitized, right?
Right.
And it's going to be a lot more of it. It's not going away. It's never going to go away, actually.
Yeah. It's too late for it to go away. It's, to your point, it's not going away, and there's only going to be more of it. Because like I said earlier, companies, Adobe proved it to everybody. Oh, the most profitable company, Apple. I just found out, fun fact, Apple makes, I think the number was 141 or around there, $141 million in profit a day. A day. Apple has about 10 subscription models. So even the great Apple has about, I think it's 9 or 10 subscription models. I can think of some real quick. You got Apple Music, you got Apple Care, you got Apple Fitness, you got Apple TV. So even they're in the game, even though they make thousands of dollars, I'm sure they're selling these for thousands of dollars. They're still like, no, we need to get the subscription model. I mean, for Christ's sake, they bought Beats, and turned it into Apple Music. It's headed that direction. And it was so fascinating for me to watch it, to go, oh, that's so true. Shabazz, how many subscriptions do you think you pay for right now?
I done lost count, man. I definitely don't know. And I'm pretty sure that's probably the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what they found, is that most people don't know how. Most people nowadays, they can't actually name how many subscriptions they pay for. Right. Because a lot of times you don't even think of it as a subscription. So let's just make it fun. I'll do it real quick. I pay Oh, I want to say at this point, 7 to 8 subscriptions for Financial State of Minds. So that's the video editing software. That's clip editing software. That's back-end stuff that we use. That's our emails. That's, there's so many stuff that I can't even think of it right now. Like, that's what it is. It becomes overwhelming. Everything AI, pretty much everything AI that we pay for is a subscription. I've never seen you can buy an AI software. I've yet to seen it, not one. And that's just for business. And then we get into the entertainment stuff, your Spotify, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu Plus, Netflix, HBO Max. The list just keeps going. But I would say between me and my girl, we probably pay for about 20 subscriptions, at least. It used to be okay because back in the day, subscriptions would $10 a month, $15 a month, maybe 20 at most. Maybe. Like, that's like that premium back then 10 years ago. Nowadays, I can't think of many streaming services. I can't think of any subscription that is under $10 at this point.
Right.
All of them. Spotify. I have a family plan. Again, Netflix is $25 a month if you want the 4K with all the profiles. YouTube Premium is ridiculous. That's like $17 a user. Again, all this stuff adds up. So when I say renting or leasing is more expensive, you see where I'm going. So if you take the average American makes what the average American household makes, like 60, 70,000 around there. And they don't own this stuff, so now they're paying for it. So 20 subscriptions, let's just make the math easy. Let's say every subscription is $10, which is $20. $20 more realistic. Every subscription is $20. And you have 20 subscriptions. That's $400 a month.
Yep.
That's $400 a month right there. That's what is $400 a month? $400 a month is a grocery bill for the month. $400 a month is insurance, utilities, all utilities put together, car notes in some spaces. $400 a month is a lot of money just for stuff that 20 years ago wouldn't have been a subscription at all for the most part. So real interesting. And I want you to talk about, okay, we understand that, Darrin, a lot of us, we may have known this. We may have not known how much it adds up. But, hey, we know that not owning costs.
Right.
We know that from at least renting. It costs. But, Darrin, we're not like you, Shabazz, man. We're not like some of these other podcasters who have money lying around. We're everyday folk. We make the average, I think average California makes about 50, 60 individually. In the state of California, we're just an average person. We make $50,000, $60,000 a year. We can't afford to buy a house. We can't afford to buy that $800,000 house and even put the down payment, let alone buy it outright. Darrin, we cannot afford to buy the Tesla or buy a freaking basic car outright or put a sizable down payment. We have to rent because that's what we can afford. Shabazz, we've said it a billion times, but say it again. What can people do so they can start moving along their tracks from renting everything to starting to own some stuff?
From what I've seen, just in my experience, the first thing that people fail to do, the very first investment that I always tell people that they need to make is in their credit.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people you can't really get to the investments that really mean something, that really count. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's other investments that you can do, but if you don't make the first initial investment, which is your credit, you can't even get to owning a house and all these other different things, right? So I tell everybody, get yourself in position. And I still tell people, I be sounding like a broken record because I tell everybody the same thing all the time. Invest in your credit. I tell people, invest in your credit. Well, what would you do? The first thing I would do if I was you, invest in my credit. And that is the key, because the cost to borrow money, because, 9 times out of 10, people can't buy their house outright or finance a house or pay cash down on the house. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to finance. So to make the cost to borrow money less to where you're paying less in interest, you have to have a good credit score, because that is going to predict how much the cost is going to be to borrow. So I tell everybody the same thing. Invest. I know a family right now, they're paying $5,500 a month. They live in Hayward to rent a house. $5,500 a month. I said, why? And this is the whole family, brother, sister, mother. And it's like, and I asked them, I said, why didn't you guys just buy a house? If you could pay $5,500 a month, right, then you could definitely buy a house. I mean, you do the math. How much is that a year, right? And I'm like, dude, do you know? And y'all been staying here for about 3 years. Y'all done bought a house in some areas. You done bought a house.
Yeah.
You know, with the money that you have been spending on rent. And guess what? The whole family has bad credit. The whole family. Every party. They all have bad credit. And guess what? They can't find their way to good credit because guess what? All their money is going to what you mentioned, renting.
Yep. Whether it's the home, whether it's the car, most likely, whether it's their entertainment setup, whether it's the content that they're watching, they're most likely paying hundreds of. If they're able to afford $5,500, they're all combined. They got to be spending hundreds to probably thousands renting, non-housing stuff, just everything else. They're probably spending thousands. So, okay, listeners, I probably am imaginary in hearing you guys. Darrin, you said in every episode, we need to invest in ourselves. We need to fix our bad credit. But we're in bad credit already. Darrin, we already are at credit score of 500. What can we do? Like, our credit score is already jacked up. Again, that means we can't afford to own anything. We have to rent. What can we do? How can we invest? And before I get to that answer, I'm going to remind you guys, you are listening to Darrin Harvey, Maurice Shabazz over here at Financial State of Minds on KGPC 96.9 FM, streaming right now. And we are talking about why it's so expensive to rent everything and to own nothing. Okay, it's so funny. I'm going to take an offline conversation and bring it online. I was just talking to you about, hey, I have a person who we just talked to yesterday who would be a great candidate for business credit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I made countless episodes, you guys. Please go back into my catalog and find all the episodes where we talk about how to build credit, whether it's personal or business. So I don't have to repeat myself. Please go back to that if you want to know the ABCs. But business credit or personal credit, for that matter, it's the same strategy. You're either repairing it or you're fixing it or improving it if it's already decent, and you can leverage that to start a side business or start anything that would generate more income for you. And that's where you start. If you have absolutely nothing, like Shabazz has been saying this whole time, constantly, episode after episode, you start with repairing your credit. That will lower everything. Everything you borrow moving forward is going to be cheaper because you have a better credit score, and lenders are going to feel more safe and comfortable lending you money. Once you get to that, then you can do the same strategy for business credit, whether it's, I don't care what you do for business. It could just be selling lemonade with a lemonade stand. I don't care what you guys do. Just do something to generate more income. I don't care if you're Uber driving, door dashing, you're pet sitting. If you're in California, you can create or obtain a second stream of income relatively easily. Now you're building yourself up. Yourself is the main asset, and you're now generating more money to where you can start buying stuff outright instead of renting. And that's the key. Whether you're making $40,000, $50,000 a year in California, whether you're making 20, 30 in Missouri or whatever, anybody can generate more income. It's not impossible. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of hard work. But anybody, if my blind behind can generate side income, then you guys have no excuse. You can generate side income. I cannot stress this enough, though. Yes, I understand it takes more work. Yes, I understand, listener. You have a 2-year-old running around. Yes, I get it. It's possible. It's possible. That's the point I always try to make. I never pretend that anything I say on my show is easy. It is not. I want to make it clear. None of this stuff is easy. All this stuff, though, is possible. And I push it so hard because people like me and Shabazz are looking at the landscape and we're going, crap, man, if you don't own, it's going to be more expensive and you're just going to stay in debt if you don't own. And we all see it. You don't have to be a financial expert to figure that out. Everything's just getting more expensive. Food's getting more expensive. We talk about it episode after episode. Food's getting more expensive. Utilities getting more expensive. At this point, you can be a monkey and just throw a dart at a dartboard and pick whatever it lands on. Oh, it's going to get more expensive. It's going to get more expensive. So I want to, again, talk about this because I think we all know things are getting more expensive. I think we all know when you rent, it's more expensive. But do you know how much of what you are doing on your day-to-day is renting? You are renting the cloud storage on this iPhone. I get it. It's $9.99 a month. I get it. I'm guilty. I rent storage on my iPhone. I'm not saying that I don't do it. However, I have a hard drive. So everything that I also store here, I store on a hard drive. So if it goes away, Apple can't just tell me, oh, sorry, Darrin, all 82 episodes of Financial State of Minds are gone. Too bad, you're out of luck. And hopefully I can talk to a representative that actually might get my stuff back. It's on a hard drive. So I now control, and that's the other thing we haven't talked about yet, is the factor of control. You control, or in my case, I control access to all of my digital assets, my episodes. It's all centered in a hard drive. After this episode's done, Felicia's going to literally connect it to her computer and give me this episode that I'm recording. And I'm going to have it right back. It's on my hard drive. But a lot of you guys, you're buying $1,500 iPhones with the lowest amount of storage, and you put it on the cloud, and you just go, oh, okay, that's where all my important baby photos of my son or daughter is. That's where all my photos of all of my pictures with my wife or my husband are at. And if they go away, they go away. I'm just going to depend on Apple. And not only is that more costly to you in the long run, you're giving up your control. Shabazz, do you like knowing that if you just left all of the stuff you built in the last 20 years on the cloud and just go away, you just lose it all? You just let that happen?
I mean, it'll definitely happen if that's the only place that I store it at.
Exactly.
It's definitely going to happen, right? Or if you stop paying that bill and now you don't have access to that cloud no more. And that has happened to me. And I said I would never let that happen again. And I haven't. But I've experienced that to where and it was just some oversight, just not paying attention. And I was like, all those years, I lost all that stuff. And it was just because it lapsed for 30 days, right? So, yeah, I think people are so reliant on technology. A lot of the things, man, we really need to go back to brass tactics because a lot of people, man, don't even know the most important people in their lives' phone number.
Yeah, that's a big point.
And now it's a codependency, right? And now you're so dependent and so reliant on these things that you're so programmed in your mind, you don't even know how to do anything different than what you've been doing. And that is the most damaging thing ever, right? So this whole thing of, oh, I have to have this or I have to have that, and it keeps you in that same position until you start thinking differently when it comes to money. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get inherited money. It doesn't matter if you win the lottery. If you don't change that mindset, you will end up back broke because you have a broke mindset. That's the key. And I try to explain that to people all the time because money management is more than just two words. It is everything. And if you don't know how to do that and you don't learn how to do that, you will never be good at it and you will never master it because you never try to do it effectively. Right. So you're always going to be a renter. You're always going to be at somebody else's mercy. And then the worst part about it is that you pass those same bad money habits, pass that down to your kids.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And then it's just a continuous, just damaging cycle.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to go back to something you said a bit earlier in the episode, and it ties all back to everything, is investing in yourself. Anything you pay for to invest in yourself, you own it, right? It's within you, right? You own it. So if you're 17, 18 listening right now, and you're thinking about going to college or whatnot, I always tell people all the time, first off, go check out episode 53. It's College Worth the ROI, shameless plug. As long as you don't borrow too much money, I always say go for it. Go to college. Get your skills up. Get you a skill where you're gonna make basically $100,000, $80,000, $120,000, whatever it is. Get your skills up. So that's fine. If you don't want to go to college out and you want to do the trades, again, same rule. Check out that episode. It basically says don't borrow more money than where you're gonna spend gaining those skills. But invest in yourself, you're gonna own that. Like, you own that. I own my degree. Kanye West made a funny skit back in the College Dropout album. That person died, but he owned his degree. You own your degree. So that's cool. Like, anything that is an asset, you own that. That's cool. Go out and get it. And I'm not saying don't go buy stuff that you don't want. I mean, I'm wearing really overly priced Jordans right now that my girlfriend got me for a Christmas gift. That's fine. We can afford it. But again, if you're going to buy something, at least first off, make sure you own it outright. Buy it, own it. Don't do this renting stuff. Please don't affirm and make 4 payments and now the thing's more expensive than what it initially cost. Actually buy it. Actually own it. Actually have control over it, because you're trading off not only more money when you rent, but you're trading off control. And the only thing you're gaining back is convenience. That's the one thing I will say about renting. And I do rent, you guys. I rent now. It's convenient. It is convenient, especially you don't have to fix anything, stuff like that. You call somebody. It's convenient. I'll say that. When you rent a car, you may not have to fix it up yourself. Okay, cool. That's convenient. When you rent anything, you lease anything out, you know the software you're using, or if Spotify doesn't work, okay, you don't have to worry about fixing it. Someone else will fix it. That's convenient. That's cool. So I'm not going to say there's no pros to renting, but honestly, is there really any other pro other than convenience? That's the question that I want the listeners to think about. Is there any other major pro, other than affordability and convenience when it comes to renting? Okay, if you haven't figured it out already, the answer is no. The answer is no, you guys. Right. There's no circumstances when owning is not as good as an option as renting. Owning's always going to be the better option. So that's pretty much it. We've kind of talked about what people can do so they can start owning some stuff. We talked about many different examples. I'm trying to think of any other examples. We've talked about subscriptions. We talked about renting. There's obviously stuff that you cannot own. You cannot own utilities. You cannot own, actually you can own insurances technically. You can own insurance policy. You can own insurance. But there are certain insurances that you cannot own. But Shabazz, can you think of anything else that people commonly rent that they could just outright buy and own it outright?
I see people do it all the time, and basically they're financing vacations, right? Yeah. And that's so crazy to me. Like, people go on vacation, and you don't went on the vacation, and you still got to pay for it after you done took the vacation, right? And it goes back to what I'm saying. I think it's just easier. These things are just easier to do.
They are.
They're more convenient. So people say, oh, well, I could do it now. And they're not thinking in long term. What are the long term effects of this? And then what happens is what I've seen a lot lately is that as people get up in age, they start realizing that, oh man, I've been doing this all wrong the whole time. And now I don't have as much time, right? I don't even have the same energy that I once had. And that is the thing. So, yeah, doing these other things, yeah, it does require some discipline. It does require some other things that are not as easy or not as convenient. And I think that is the thing that people can't wrap their brains around. People want to live for now. They're not thinking about down the road. They're not thinking about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to what we always talk about, short-term thinking, short-term gratification, not thinking about the long term. You got up a great point, and I'll expand upon it really quickly as we get ready to wrap up. Yeah, it's getting to the point where you technically don't even own your experiences. Like, if you can affirm or buy now, pay later vacations, concerts, I mean, effectively anything can be affirmed at this point. You can buy now, pay later a comedy show, a music concert, going out to eat. I mean, you can borrow all of that at this point. And at that point, until you pay them back, you don't own it. You don't own it scot and free. And I understand, well, Darrin, what are you talking about? There's these things called credit cards that you talk about all the time. By that same logic, we don't own anything on your credit cards. Which, with that logic, you're correct, but you feel your credit card. You feel that 30% interest rate. You feel that monthly minimum required payment. You are stressing about it. You feel that. You feel that hits you every single time. These little tiny $9.99 subscriptions to your favorite makeup box, or your $9.99 shirt, t-shirt subscription, or your collectibles or whatever, because they literally have it for everything at this point, subscription boxes. You don't feel that. You don't feel that individually. You don't feel that $10 here. You don't feel that $15 here. You don't feel that $30 here. But when you add it up, and you may want to use an app like a Rocket Money, shout out to them, where they'll literally point out all your subscriptions, it adds up. Oh, crap. All these little wants that I wanted, I'm spending combined $200 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month. Well, no wonder you can't get yourself out of debt. You're spending $200, $300 a month on subscriptions that you don't need. And there's very few subscriptions that are needs. Most subscriptions are a want. So if we're talking about how people can save money, most of the time when I'm doing plans, I find, that you have like 20 subscriptions. Cut out 15 of them. You can keep 5. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of them are experiences. Hey, some of them are called timeshares. That's what it is. You're paying for access. You don't own that property in a timeshare. So you can rent out experiences as well. And you don't own those experiences, as crazy as it sounds. You don't own them. You don't own them. You don't own anything nowadays. So that's just something I really wanted to talk about. Again, check out Business Insider's video called Why Renting Everything or Not Owning Everything is So Expensive. It's a great video. It's about 30 minutes. But I'll go ahead and wrap up the episode. Shabazz, any final comments as we wrap up?
Yeah, one thing before you close. This idea of renting, it's a slave mentality. That's what people don't understand. You're pretty much a slave to your landlord. You're a slave to the finance company. You're a slave to the credit card company. And a good number of people are slaves to their employers. Mm-hmm. These is a slave mentality. It's a poor man's mindset. And if you start thinking of it like that, and you stop, want to get out of this idea, and you start saying, no, I don't want to be a slave anymore. I don't want to be at the mercy of my landlord. I don't want to be at the mercy of the finance company. They're going to take my car if I don't pay my car note. I don't want to continue to live my life like that. Then get out of the slave mentality.
Absolutely. And the final thing I'll say as I close is, you guys all know this, but let's just say it out loud to add it up. If you buy a house, let's just say you're stupidly rich. You make $5 million a year. Well, that means that $800,000 house that I mentioned earlier, you're buying it in cash, and that's it. You paid $800,000. You might be able to negotiate it for less if it's a car. That $40,000 Tesla that you want to get, buy it outright. There's not going to be no interest, no whatever. You want to buy a printer? Yes, you can actually rent out printer, you guys. You can rent out printers. Okay, well, you rent out the printer for $8 a month over 2 years. You've already bought the printer twice over. That Xfinity Comcast modem that you rented out from them, you're paying an extra $10, $20. Well, just go buy a modem for $150, $200. So we can keep going. Everybody's into subscriptions when it comes to Netflix and streaming. Well, how many of you guys actually watch the thousands of episodes on Netflix? You're probably only watching 10, 15 shows at max a year. It may be cheaper to just buy those shows. If they're not Netflix exclusive, If you can buy them, maybe cheaper, especially if you get them on used. Maybe consider buying them, have them physical. So when it inevitably goes off of Netflix, you're not one of the millions of people going, oh my God, my favorite show is off of Netflix. And now I got to go to Hulu, or now I got to go to Paramount. You own the physical copy, so you ain't got to worry about it. And I do own some of my movies. It's a small collection, but I do own some. So think about that, you guys. Like, that's another way you can save some money is you don't need Netflix. Just buy some shows. You don't need to pay for a video game subscription. Just buy a few video games a year and just do that. So anyways, I know we're wrapping up. I appreciate you guys listening as always. Shabazz, I appreciate you as always joining in on the conversation. This is Darrin Harvey, and this has been Financial State of Mind on KGPC 96.9 FM, streaming right now on KGPC969.org. Podcast available everywhere. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. Peace, kings, and queens. We are out of here.